Marvel Studios is going to try to make Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame look like a joke because Secret Wars is coming at us. And with that in mind, I'm here to try to temper expectations, which will definitely be overblown by everybody between now and the release of the film. So what I'm going to do in this video is provide evidence on why Marvel's Secret Wars will not be what you are expecting it to be, because history has proven to be true. So just for clarification, a lot of people I know haven't read the comics, or if they've ever looked at the comics, it's been somebody explaining it or doing a good job just reading the entire thing, but they missed the point of it because it takes a lot more than just seeing a panel move by or something like that, or having somebody tell you what it is to understand it. There's a lot more that builds up to it, that's the fallout of it, and that's intertwined with the whole thing. Most people think Secret Wars is just take everything, throw it together, and it's done. And that's the layman explanation. Yes, you can involve the Beyonder from the original. Yes, you even had Secret Wars 2, which wasn't as big. Or you had Secret Wars, the most recent one, in 2015, which I think is going to be the basis for the new one because, well, they already talk about the incursions, and that's clearly what they're building up. But I want to take a step away from all of that and quickly go over why you shouldn't expect what you're expecting and what scoopers are already telling you Secret Wars is going to be. So for example, a little history lesson here is what I need to get to the point of this. Do you guys remember a time where the Avengers was first shooting? Well, every single scooper out there at the time, which weren't many because there was only a couple, they were all saying they know exactly what the Avengers is going to be about. And it was largely believed that it was going to be all centered around the Avengers trying to stop the Hulk from rampaging because Loki had taken control of him. And the theories were that at the end of The Incredible Hulk, when we see Edward Norton's eyes open, this is clearly an indication because of the green, that Loki's in his mind, and whatever. We didn't end up getting that, so forget about that. But hey, next up, guess what we got? Another Avengers film, and it's called Age of Ultron, so speculation starts. Now, this is around the time that the modern scooper started to show up, so it was definitely going to involve X-Men. It was definitely going to involve some sort of multiverse. It was definitely going to be about Ultron coming at us from the future. Again, I remember all of these. We talked about these on the show. Why? Well, that's what the comic is based on, so it has to be based on it. It's with the same name. So all the rumors and speculation spun off of, well, it has to be like the comic. Well, it wasn't. But don't you worry, Civil War is next, and that means it's gotta be like the comic. They're gonna fight over exactly who is on what side. There's going to be a huge divide. There's going to be a ton of heroes, trust me. The insiders said it, so it must be true. Namor is going to be showing up. Doctor Doom has secretly been reached in a deal that he's going to divide them. All sorts of rumors, and well, the Civil War in the comics is nothing like the one in the film. The closest we got to one of these actual adaptations being a semi-adaptation is, well, the Infinity Gauntlet, and even that had a lot of changes. But next up, we also have Secret Invasion, which is nothing like Secret Invasion was in the comics. So now we find ourselves returning all the way back to Secret Wars. So I just laid out a pattern of how every single event that we've had in the MCU literally just borrows maybe 10 to 15% of what the actual comics and all the events leading up to it had, and they change everything. So why exactly do people expect Secret Wars, the movie, picking up after the Kang Dynasty, which are clearly two films that are connected at the hip, to be anything like the Secret Wars comics, when there literally isn't any of that through line yet? We're not seeing it, and at best, we're just going to get an amalgamation of everything that's simplified for the betterment of the story to be understandable and digestible and consumable by the mass audience, because that's what it has to be. Again, I'm not here to say, oh, everybody's wrong, I hate everybody has scoopers. That's a part of it, but what I'm saying is, people are building themselves up to this complex story that is Secret Wars, that in the comics takes a lot to understand the whole story, and believe that the films are going to do that. when the films cannot actually do that because you are not allowed to do that because you're missing so much context in a different medium. It's the age-old argument of why don't video games make good movies? Because a video game is typically an experience that you interact with and you are controlling. A movie does not necessarily translate that well, and the best adaptations kind of take away from, well, what the actual story of the game was and twist it. The better adaptations have been on TV because they allow you more time. Again, Secret Wars, every single version was a massive event lasting a year with buildup and payoff and ramifications. Again, the MCU has that, but it has to be approached also as a singular entity with simplicity. For example, incursion events will definitely be a major factor because they have to be, because Doctor Strange literally explained to us that they're a disaster that's looming and coming, and Doctor Strange doing what he did is going to have major ramifications. Kang and the Sacred Timeline being broken up by Loki and Sylvie, that's a ramification. Deadpool coming into the multiverse that the MCU has opened up is going to cause major problems. Everything happening with Spider-Man, major problems and ramifications. But again, you have to approach this on a very basic level, and a level that has to be understandable by everybody. Yes, you can connect the films and the series, but again, you're going to need something that can also stand on its own. And going into the complexity of the comics, you have to break down the bare essentials. In the most recent run, the story was really Mr. Fantastic and Doctor Doom. And that was the crux of everything. They were the main characters. And you really now got to think about what's happened recently with the acquisition of Fox and what the future holds and what they're going to be doing in terms of the multiverse saga. And I think you start to understand that just tossing everything out there doesn't necessarily make sense, because at a fundamental level as a storyteller, you need an entry point and you need to leave the story for everybody to understand what happened, which is the beauty of why the MCU has worked and succeeded on such a level that, for example, the DCEU hasn't. Batman v Superman was filled with comic book panels, references, and dialogue that a lot of people didn't care about and hated the movie because they had no knowledge of what they're pulling from. Sure, me and you know who Frank Miller is. The average audience doesn't. The MCU is built on simplicity and approaching complexity by breaking down the bare essentials. So this long-winded, almost essay-like rant is Secret Wars will not be what you expect it to be. And that's for good.